In today's video, I'm going to ask the question, is it possible to do a PhD without having a master's degree? And the short answer to this question is yes, it does happen, but let's take a look at your average PhD candidate who was successful ahead of every other person. This person typically has an undergraduate degree at 2-1 or first class honours level. They'll have a master's degree as well at merit or distinction level, and research skills which relate to that PhD. There's other factors involved, but typically these are the main things that a supervisor would look for. There are some exceptions though. I'm going to break down a few of those and talk about ways you can go from your undergraduate degree straight to a PhD. One example is knowing that potential PhD supervisor. For example, they may have taught you as an undergraduate student, so you've already got that good rapport and trust which you've built over 3 or 4 years. And it goes back to that phrase of, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I did this when I was trying to get a PhD at my old university in Hull. It didn't work out, and that's the flip side of it. You may have a really good reputation at a university, but without a master's, it's still challenging no matter how popular you were. The second example was quite similar. It's being essentially an exceptional student. You got a first class honours at that university, and now that university is advertising for a PhD. It also helps if your dissertation was very similar to that PhD. That can happen sometimes. Your undergraduate supervisor does a project with you, and they're also supervising PhDs in a similar area. This gives you a great advantage. If you did really well and showed a great attitude during that project as an undergraduate student, it can put you ahead of other people. The final example is more for applied PhDs. So if you have practical experience but not a master's degree, it can help, and the reason it can help is it brings contacts. If you're doing a PhD in professional sport and you've got loads of contacts in professional sport, it makes it easier to recruit athletes and collaborate with different professional environments. That said, again though, it's no guarantee. This was the main angle that I tried to use before I did my master's. I would go to different universities and say, I've got all this coaching experience, but not a master's. I got close a few times, but the feedback was always, well, the other person had a master's and that's why we chose them, despite your coaching experience. So to summarise, to give my final thoughts on this, it's really hard to try and get a PhD even when you've got a master's. So just imagine without a master's trying to get a PhD. Secondly, really simply just go and do a master's. I could do a video where I could try different avenues for you to get you in without a master's degree, but just go and do a master's degree. You'll learn as well. You will be more prepared for a PhD compared to not having a master's degree. And finally, keep pushing. It's easy for me to say now because I've gone and done my PhD, but I was in a very dark place for a year, 18 months trying to get a PhD. It's incredibly hard. It took me a long time and a lot of applications, but if you keep pushing, it will happen for you as well. Okay, thanks for watching this video. I've got plenty of videos on my channel about doing a master's, doing a PhD. If you have any questions about postgraduate study, get in touch with me on Instagram at Sports Science Hacks. Okay, thanks for tuning in, and I'll speak to you again soon.